I think probably all of us who have been president love this club.
And I always just feel so energized when I walk into the room with all these powerful women, bright women, and I love it.
It's more the association with wonderful women and knowing that women can aspire to great things.
The first time that somebody said, "Madam President, I'll do that for you," I was like, whoa, this is cool. Being a Soroptimist, that's a presence that I think all of us Soroptimists should revel in, that we should enjoy being the people who can help the community.
And I came as a guest to a meeting, and Carol Brazil was the president. And Carol, who you may or may not have interviewed yet, but when you do, is a hoot. And Carol has this infectious, contagious personality. It's great fun. And I can remember walking into that room, and she was up at the podium, and she was just having the best time and laughing and enjoying herself. And I went, you know, that's a club I want to belong to. If a president can stand up there in front of the group and be having that good a time, there is something to this group. The club had decided, in addition to all the smaller service projects that we supported, that we wanted to do one big project, a really big, multi-year long commitment of some sort. We took a vote in the club and chose to support a capital campaign for the Salvation Army. We fulfilled the rest of the $75,000 commitment, and so the evidence stands there. So that was just a really proud moment to hand over, because I think up until then, and there may be a past president who can correct me, I believe that was the single largest commitment that we had made in Soroptimist history.
I think the important thing is Soroptimist is a big cloth, and it's woven together by different fibers.
You know, when you live in a community, you can't just live there. You really need to think about, if you want to change things and make things better for your community, you have to become involved. And Soroptimist has given me that opportunity to become involved.
We were a small club, but we were enthusiastic. And we sang, if you can believe it. I'd rather be a Soroptimist than anything else I know. I'd rather be a Soroptimist than anything else I know. It puts a punch into the bunch. It keeps us on the go. I'd rather be a Soroptimist than anything else I know. I wanted to give you a little bit of the history, because I go back farther than quite a few people, and I've had a long, happy relationship with Soroptimist. Back in 1930, when the club was first organized, I was attending elementary school called the Training School, connected with Chico State College, and I remember that our principal was Emma Wilson, who was the first president of Soroptimist here in Chico in 1930. And although we didn't understand Soroptimist, we, as kids, knew that she was doing something very important at that time.
My mother was a charter member of Oroville in 1931, and we moved to Chico in 33. And from then on, I was a child, and I grew up with Soroptimist. And when I became an adult and my husband and I had a roofing company, my mother kept saying, "Why don't you join the club?" Well, anyway, so I joined in '67, and you're part of the community and not just staying home. And that's the way the club started, with housewives that worked in their husband's business, and they have interesting stories that should be told someday. It was a different kind of club.
Well, we had things like bake sales and fashion shows. That reminds me of probably the only argument, you might say, that we had when I was president. And we were planning the fashion show, and there was quite a discussion about, shall we use sterling and china, or shall we use just everyday dishes? Shall we use tablecloths?
Fundraising for us was the Christmas boutique and luncheon, and the lunch was made by club members. I have never in my life seen anything where every single pot, pan, bowl that was brought in looked different. Which I think is hilarious. So here we first had all of these different pots and pans, and you'd have to try to serve it and make it all look like the same for every, because if you're serving a plate luncheon, right? You want it to look the same. Well, that was impossible. The food looks completely different no matter, which I think is hilarious.
The club was much smaller, probably 75 members. The projects were much smaller in scope than the projects we have now. As a matter of fact, when we started the budget for my year, the service budget was $1,000. That's how much they had to raise to fund the service projects that we had. And of course, now we think nothing of earning $75,000 in a year from our projects.
Nowadays we have the Home and Garden Show, but at that time we had bazaars. The one that I remember particularly was when we had at the church, and we sold the tickets ahead of time, and we ran out of food before everybody had been there, and we had to refund some people's money. We were very embarrassed.
We would have several smaller projects: a fashion show, a bake sale, a rummage sale, and we made ponchos one year for the Las Senoritas when they had some sort of bazaar over at Bidwell Mansion. Just small, minor fundraisers.
One of the things that we don't do anymore that we had continually done for so many years was a bingo that we had done at a convalescent house. Every single Friday for something like 27 years we did that as members. The timeline of that, it was just amazing to me to see that women would be that dedicated over that long of a time to their community.
It's just a few things failed. Most of the things we did were successful. The Work Training Center was started by a man who was having trouble getting it off the ground, and they came to Soroptimist. We funded the Work Training Center when it started.
Well, the Work Training Center was our project for 3 years, and this was through, I think it was motivated by the mental health department. They were starting this, and some of the mothers of these handicapped children. All the funds that we raised went toward the workshop that was the forerunner of Work Training Center. And as a matter of fact, our club was honored by a state organization, a state group, for the sheltered workshop that we had started. So it was truly a wonderful experience.
It was our 50th anniversary. Wow, I felt like, I don't know if I'm really up to this or not. This is big. I remember feeling like, oh, I don't know. Villaine Golay came up with the idea to make the city library into a museum. And she just grabbed by the horns, she and Hester Patrick, and the group made the library a museum. They got the money, the grants, everything they needed, and it became Chico City Museum. And it was a thrill to be a part of that.